The muffled scream from the parking garage made his blood freeze. Then he saw her, his daughter's best friend, being dragged toward a van, and everything changed in an instant. Before we dive into the story, make sure to smash subscribe because tomorrow we have an extra special story for you that will blow your mind. Marcus Hayes stood at the coffee shop counter, waiting for his usual black coffee, no sugar, no cream. Just like his life these days, simple, structured, predictable. The morning sun slanted through the windows of the small shop in Riverside, Colorado, painting golden stripes across the worn wooden floor. At 42, Marcus carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who'd seen too much but refused to let it break him. His broad shoulders filled out the faded Marine Corps t-shirt he wore like armor against the world. And his calloused hands that had once held weapons in war zones, now held nothing more dangerous than a steering wheel as he drove his daughter to college every morning. Behind him, the door chimed. 2 young women entered, their laughter bright as wind chimes. Marcus glanced back and smiled. His daughter, Rebecca, 21 with auburn hair that caught fire in the sunlight, walked in alongside her best friend, Ashley Chen. They were supposed to be in class, but here they were, probably skipping their morning lecture for caffeine and gossip. Rebecca caught his eye and grinned sheepishly. "Dad, what are you doing here?" she asked, approaching the counter. "Shouldn't you be at work? Shouldn't you be in Economics 201? Marcus countered, raising an eyebrow. Ashley laughed, her dark eyes sparkling. "Busted. But in our defense, Professor Williams is just reading from the textbook. We can do that ourselves." Marcus shook his head but couldn't hide his smile. Since Catherine had passed 3 years ago, Rebecca had become his anchor, his reason for getting up each morning. She'd grown from a rebellious teenager into a young woman with her mother's grace and his stubborn streak. And Ashley, she'd been there through it all, practically family now, spending more dinners at their table than her own. "One coffee won't hurt," Rebecca said, linking her arm through his. "Besides, when do I get to randomly run into my favorite person?" The barista called out Marcus's order. He grabbed his cup, the heat seeping through the cardboard sleeve. 5 minutes, he warned. "Then you both get back to class." "Yes, sir," Ashley mock saluted, and Marcus couldn't help but chuckle. The girl had spent enough time around him to pick up some of his mannerisms. They sat at a small table near the window. Rebecca pulled out her phone, showing him pictures from a campus event the night before. Marcus half listened, sipping his coffee, watching the easy friendship between the 2 young women. This was what Catherine would have wanted their daughter: happy, surrounded by good people, building a life beyond the shadow of grief. "Earth to Dad." Rebecca waved a hand in front of his face. "You're doing that thing again." "What thing?" "The 1,000-yard stare thing. Mom used to call it your war face." Marcus blinked, focusing back on the present. "Sorry, sweetheart. Just thinking." Ashley's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, frowning. "That's weird. Unknown number. 3rd time today." She declined the call and shoved the phone back in her pocket. Probably spam. The morning crowd had thinned. Marcus checked his watch. 8:45 a.m. He had a construction site meeting at 9:30. Standing, he kissed Rebecca's forehead. "All right, you 2 delinquents. Back to class." Fine," Rebecca groaned dramatically. "But we're walking with you to your truck. I need to grab my textbook anyway. Left it in there yesterday." They exited together into the crisp Colorado morning. The coffee shop shared a building with several other businesses, and behind it stretched a 3-level parking garage, dim and oil-stained. Marcus's pickup sat on the 2nd level, its red paint dulled by construction dust. As they climbed the concrete stairs, their footsteps echoed in the hollow space. Something prickled at the back of Marcus's neck, that old instinct from Afghanistan, the one that whispered when something was off. He glanced around but saw nothing unusual, just cars, concrete pillars, and flickering fluorescent lights. "Here," Rebecca said, pulling open the passenger door. She leaned in, rummaging through the mess of papers and water bottles. "Got it." Ashley stood nearby, checking her phone again. Another call from the unknown number. This time, she answered with an irritated, "Hello?" Marcus watched her face change confusion, then alarm. The phone slipped from her hand, clattering on the concrete. "Ashley?" Rebecca straightened. Textbook forgotten. That's when they appeared. 2 men emerged from behind a white van, parked 3 spaces away. They moved with purpose, faces partially hidden by baseball caps. The taller one, thick-necked with prison tattoos crawling up his forearms, reached Ashley first. "No!" Ashley stumbled backward, but he grabbed her arm, yanking her toward the van. Everything happened in seconds, but for Marcus, time stretched like taffy. His coffee cup hit the ground. 20 years of Marine training fired through his neurons. Threat assessment. 2 hostiles, one targeting Ashley, the other moving to flank. No visible weapons, but the bulge under Tattoo's jacket suggested concealed carry. The van's engine was running. They'd planned this. "Dad!" Rebecca's scream cut through his analysis. Marcus moved. Not the measured walk of a middle-aged contractor, but the explosive speed of a Force Recon Marine. His boot connected with the first man's knee, dropping him before he could fully turn. The sound of bone meeting concrete echoed through the garage. Tattoo had Ashley halfway to the van, her feet dragging, her screams muffled by his hand over her mouth. Marcus closed the distance in 3 strides. His hand shot out, gripping the man's wrist and twisting. The technique was muscle memory CQC training drilled into him at Quantico. Tattoo's grip broke. Ashley tumbled free, but Tattoo was no amateur. He spun, throwing a haymaker that would have dropped most men. Marcus slipped inside the arc, driving an elbow into the man's solar plexus. Tattoo doubled over, gasping. "Run!" Marcus barked at the girls. The second man was back up, limping but reaching inside his jacket. Marcus recognized the motion weapon draw. He lunged, tackling the man before the gun cleared leather. They hit the van's side panel hard, wrestling for control of the pistol. A shot fired. The sound in the enclosed garage was deafening. Marcus felt the heat of the round pass his ear. His hands found the gun, twisting it away, using the man's own trigger finger against him. Another shot, this one into the garage ceiling. Concrete dust rained down. Marcus drove his knee into the man's groin, then stripped the weapon away. The Glock felt familiar in his hands, though it had been years since he'd held one. He stepped back, covering both men. "Don't move," he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who'd given such orders in far deadlier circumstances. Tattoo was on his knees, still wheezing. His partner curled on the ground, moaning. The van door hung open, revealing zip ties, duct tape, and a tarp kidnapping supplies. Behind him, Rebecca's voice, high and scared. "Dad, Ashley's hurt." Marcus risked a glance. Ashley sat against his truck, Rebecca kneeling beside her. Blood trickled from a cut on her forehead where she'd hit the concrete, but she was conscious, alive. "Call 911, Marcus ordered. Now, Rebecca already had her phone out, fingers shaking as she dialed. Marcus kept the gun trained on the would-be kidnappers, his stance textbook perfect despite the civilian clothes. The muscle memory ran deep, weight balanced, weapon steady, finger indexed along the frame. "You picked the wrong girl," he said quietly to Tattoo. "And definitely the wrong father." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Tattoo looked up, hate burning in his eyes. "You don't know who you're messing with, old man. This ain't over." Marcus stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than a shout. "I've hunted Taliban commanders through the mountains of Helmand. I've survived ambushes that would make your nightmares look like fairy tales. You think I'm worried about some strip mall kidnapper with a van and a bad plan?" The man's bravado crumbled. What happens next will reveal why Ashley was targeted, expose a trafficking ring that reached deeper than anyone imagined, and show why sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the quiet one pouring coffee. Stay tuned to see what happens next. If you're enjoying the story, please like, share, and subscribe for more. The police arrived in a tsunami of sirens and flashing lights. Marcus set the Glock on the ground and stepped back. Hands visible, he knew the drill. Within minutes, the parking garage transformed into a crime scene. Yellow tape sectioned off areas. Officers photographed evidence, and EMTs checked Ashley's injuries. Detective Sarah Coleman, mid-40s with sharp eyes that missed nothing, took Marcus's statement. She'd been working Riverside PD for 15 years and had seen plenty, but the precision of Marcus's response to the attack made her pause. "Military?" she asked. "Marines. Force Recon. 2 tours in Afghanistan." She nodded, making notes. "Clean takedown." Most civilians would have frozen or made it worse. "They were after Ashley specifically," Marcus said. "This wasn't random." Coleman's pen stopped moving. "What makes you say that?" "The timing. They were waiting. Engine running, supplies ready. And those calls she was getting, they were checking her location. Ashley, now with a bandage on her forehead, overhead from where she sat on the ambulance bumper. Wait, you think they were after me? Why? I'm nobody special. Coleman walked over, her expression serious. Miss Chen, I need you to think. Anyone threaten you recently? Ex-boyfriend? Someone you rejected? Ashley shook her head. No, nothing like that. I work part-time at the campus library and volunteer at the youth center. I don't have enemies. But Marcus watched Ashley's face, saw something flicker in her eyes. Fear? Yes, but something else. Recognition? Before he could pursue it, one of the officers called Coleman over to the van. Detective, you need to see this. Inside the van, beyond the kidnapping supplies, they found 3 cell phones, a laptop, and several photographs. Coleman held up one of the photos, her face grim. It showed Ashley leaving the youth center, timestamp from 3 days ago. Another showed her at the coffee shop. Someone had been watching her. This is bigger than a simple kidnapping attempt, Coleman said. She turned to Ashley. I need a list of everyone you work with at the youth center. Every volunteer, every kid you mentor, everyone. Ashley's hands trembled. You think someone there is involved? I think someone has been tracking you for days, possibly weeks. This was planned. Rebecca, who hadn't left Ashley's side, suddenly spoke up. The Delgado case. Everyone turned to look at her. Ashley, remember? You helped that girl, Maria Delgado. She came to the youth center scared, said someone was following her. You helped her file a police report. Ashley's face went pale. That was 2 months ago. She said her cousin was trying to force her into. Oh God. Coleman leaned forward. Force her into what? She wouldn't give details, just said her cousin wanted her to work for him. She was terrified. I helped her get a restraining order and connected her with a women's shelter. The detective's expression darkened. What was the cousin's name? Hector Delgado. Coleman immediately got on her radio. Marcus caught enough of the conversation to understand Hector Delgado was a known player in the regional trafficking network, someone they'd been trying to pin down for years. If Ashley had helped his cousin escape, we're going to need protective custody for Miss Chen, Coleman announced. If Delgado ordered this... No, Marcus interrupted. Everyone looked at him. All due respect, detective, but protective custody didn't stop them from finding her today. They knew her routine, her schedule. Someone inside is feeding them information. That's a serious accusation, Mr. Hayes. It's a serious situation. My daughter's best friend was nearly kidnapped in broad daylight. Your protective custody means trusting a system that's already been compromised. Coleman bristled, but before she could respond, her phone rang. She answered, her face growing more troubled with each word. Understood. Yes, sir. We'll handle it. She hung up. Both suspects lawyered up. High-priced attorneys from Denver already en route. Someone with deep pockets is protecting them. Marcus felt the familiar cold calculation of combat planning settle over him. In Afghanistan, when conventional tactics failed, you adapted. You became unpredictable. You protected your assets through unconventional means. Where's Maria Delgado now? He asked. That's protected information. Is she safe? Coleman hesitated. We lost contact with her 3 weeks ago. She left the shelter, didn't say where she was going. The pieces clicked in Marcus's mind. They couldn't find Maria, so they went after the person who helped her. Ashley was bait. Ashley's voice came out small. You think they wanted to trade me for her? Or use you to flush her out, Marcus said. Either way, this isn't over. That evening, Marcus's house became an impromptu command center. He'd insisted Ashley stay with him. Her own apartment was compromised, and he didn't trust anyone else to protect her. Rebecca made coffee while Ashley sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, going through youth center files. Maria was special, Ashley said, scrolling through photos. 18, just aged out of foster care. Smart, wanted to be a nurse. When she came to me, she was terrified but determined. Said she'd rather die than become what her cousin wanted. Marcus studied the photo on screen. Maria Delgado had the kind of eyes that had seen too much, too young. He recognized the look had seen it in Afghan villages where the Taliban recruited children. Did she mention any places she felt safe? Friends? Other family? Ashley thought. She talked about an aunt in Wyoming, said she was the only family member who ever cared about her. But she was scared to go there, thought Hector would follow. Name? Rosa something. Wait. Ashley pulled out her phone, scrolling through old texts. Maria sent me a photo once, said it was the only good memory from her childhood. The photo showed a younger Maria with an older woman standing in front of a small restaurant. A sign in the background read, Rosa's Kitchen Laramie, WY. Marcus memorized the details. In Force Recon, intelligence was everything. Know your terrain, know your enemy, know your assets. Right now, Maria Delgado was an asset in danger, and Ashley wouldn't be safe until they found her. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, then remembered the calls Ashley had received. He answered, Mr. Hayes? A young female voice, scared but trying to sound brave. My name is Maria Delgado. I heard what happened to Ashley. This is all my fault. Marcus put the phone on speaker, motioning for silence. Maria, where are you? I can't. They'll find me. But I can't let them hurt Ashley because of me. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her, Maria, listen to me. I'm a Marine. I protected people in war zones, and I'm protecting Ashley now. But I need your help to end this. Where are you? A long pause. Marcus could hear traffic in the background, maybe a train. You don't understand. Hector has people everywhere. Cops, social workers, even some of the shelter staff. That's why I ran. Then we don't use them, just you and me, Marine to Marine. I'm not a Marine. No, but you're fighting a war. And in war, we don't leave people behind. Tell me where you are. Another pause. Then, barely a whisper, Laramie. But he knows about my aunt. He'll come for me. Let him try, Marcus said, and for the first time in years, he felt the old fire ignite in his chest, the predator awakening. Stay with your aunt. Stay inside. We're coming to you. He hung up and looked at the two young women staring at him. Pack light. We leave in an hour. Dad, you can't be serious, Rebecca said. This is a job for the police. The police have procedures, protocols, and, apparently, leaks. By the time they coordinate with Wyoming law enforcement, file the paperwork, and get approval, Maria could be gone. Or worse. So what, we just drive to Wyoming and hope for the best? Marcus walked to his bedroom, returning with a locked case he hadn't opened in 3 years. Inside, nested in foam, lay his Mon 911 pistol, the one he'd carried as a sidearm through 2 deployments. Legal, registered, and maintained with the meticulous care of a Marine who understood that weapons were tools and tools saved lives. No, he said, checking the weapon with practiced efficiency. We drive to Wyoming with a plan. Recon the aunt's restaurant, establish security, and wait. If Hector's people show up, they'll find out what happens when you threaten my family. Ashley stood slowly. Mr. Hayes, Marcus, I can't ask you to do this. You didn't ask. And you're not just Rebecca's friend Ashley. You're family. In this house, family means nobody fights alone. The highway stretched endlessly under a canopy of stars. Marcus drove his truck with the steady focus of someone who'd convoyed through hostile territory. Rebecca dozed in the back seat while Ashley navigated, the GPS showing 4 hours to Laramie. You don't have to tell me, Ashley said quietly. But what was it like? Afghanistan? Marcus considered the question. Most veterans deflected or gave vague answers. But Ashley had earned more than deflection today. Hot, dusty, scary and boring in equal measure. You'd go weeks without anything happening, then everything would happen at once. IEDs, ambushes, trying to tell friend from foe in a place where those lines blurred. Why'd you join? Family tradition. My dad was Army, grandfather was Navy in Korea. But really? I wanted to be part of something bigger than myself, wanted to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. He glanced at her. Not so different from what you do at the youth center. Ashley smiled sadly. I just fill out paperwork and listen. You actually fought. Fighting isn't always about weapons. Sometimes the bravest thing is standing up when it would be easier to look away. You did that for Maria. They drove in comfortable silence for a while. Then Ashley asked, Do you miss it? The Marines? I missed the clarity, Marcus admitted. Over there, you knew who your brothers were. You knew your mission. Here, everything's grayer. But I don't miss the weight of it, the cost. He didn't elaborate, and Ashley didn't push. But she understood. The cost was written in the photos on his mantle. Catherine's smile forever frozen in time. The folded flag in the display case from a brother in arms who didn't make it home. The first hints of dawn were breaking as they entered Laramie. The city was smaller than Riverside, a mix of college town energy and old western grit. Rosa's kitchen sat on a quiet street, sandwiched between a hardware store and a thrift shop. The restaurant was dark, the closed sign hanging crooked in the window. Marcus parked across the street, positioning the truck for quick exit if needed. Old habits. "Stay here," he told the girls. "Lock the doors. Anyone approaches who isn't me, you drive. Don't wait, don't argue. Just go." "Dad, Rebecca, please. Just this once, don't fight me on this." She nodded, fear replacing argument. Marcus crossed the street, senses hyper-alert. The street was empty, but empty didn't mean safe. He'd learned that in Fallujah, where insurgents could materialize from shadows. He knocked on the restaurant's back door. "Maria, it's Marcus Hayes, Ashley's friend." Movement inside. The door cracked open, held by a chain. Dark eyes peered out, the same eyes from the photo, but older, more frightened. "You came," Maria whispered. "Marines don't lie. Is your aunt here?" "Sleeping upstairs. I didn't tell her everything, didn't want to scare her more." "Smart, can I come in?" She unchained the door. Maria Delgado was smaller than her photo suggested, maybe 5'2", wearing an oversized University of Wyoming hoodie, but there was steel in her spine, the kind forged by surviving what no teenager should face. Marcus entered, automatically checking corners, exits, defensive positions. The kitchen was clean but worn, speaking of hard work and thin margins. "Tell me about Hector's operation," he said. Maria sat on a prep stool, pulling her knees to her chest. "He started small, bringing girls from Mexico, promising restaurant jobs, housekeeping. Then the debts would start: transport fees, housing, fake papers. Before they knew it, they owed thousands. The only way to pay was, I understand. But it got bigger. He partnered with someone with connections. They started targeting local girls too, foster kids, runaways, anyone vulnerable. That's when he came for me." "Why you specifically?" "Because I'm family." He said family meant loyalty, meant I'd be trusted, meant I'd help recruit other girls. Her voice broke. I said no. He said I didn't have a choice. The pieces were forming a picture Marcus didn't like. This wasn't just about one girl escaping. It was about a network protecting itself, eliminating threats. "Maria, who did Hector partner with? Who has the connections?" Before she could answer, tires screeched outside. Marcus moved to the window. A black SUV had stopped behind his truck, blocking it in. 3 men emerged, including one he recognized tattooed from the parking garage, out on bail and looking for payback. "Back door," Marcus commanded. "Now." But through the kitchen window, he saw another vehicle pulling into the alley. They were boxed in. Maria's face crumbled. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought I had more time." "Don't apologize. Just do exactly what I say." Marcus pulled out his phone, sending a quick text to Rebecca. Code red. "Call Coleman. Give her this address." Then he turned to Maria. "Where's your aunt's room?" "Upstairs, but..." "Wake her. Tell her to lock her door and call 911. Go." Maria ran. Marcus checked his weapon, mind calculating. 7 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. 3 hostiles visible, probably more. Defensive position, protect the assets, buy time for backup. The front door's glass shattered. They weren't bothering with subtlety. Marcus positioned himself behind the kitchen's steel prep table. Decent cover, clear sightline to both entrances. The weight of the 1,911 felt like an old friend in his hands. Footsteps in the dining room. Tactical movement, but sloppy. These weren't professionals, just thugs with guns and bad intentions. "Maria," a voice called out, accented, authoritative. "Come out, Prima. Uncle Hector is worried about you." So the boss himself had come. That changed things. "Cut off the head." "She's not here," Marcus called back. "But I am, and you're trespassing." Silence. Then a laugh, cold and mean. "You're the Marine from Colorado. Manuel told me about you before his lawyer got him out. Said you were fast for an old man." "Fast enough. Maybe. But you're one man with one gun. I have 6 men and no rules. Give me the girl, and you drive away. Your daughter stays safe. Everyone wins." "Counter, offer," Marcus said. "You leave now, and I don't paint this kitchen with your blood. You get to keep breathing. That's winning in my book." Another laugh. "Brave. Stupid, but brave." Movement from multiple directions. They were spreading out, trying to flank. Marcus smiled grimly. They were thinking tactically, but not practically. In a space this tight, with this many obstacles, numbers could become a liability. The first man appeared in the doorway, weapon raised. Marcus fired once, center mass. The man spun and dropped. The sound in the enclosed space was deafening. Return fire erupted, bullets sparking off steel and shattering dishes. Marcus stayed low, counting muzzle flashes. 2 from the dining room, 1 from the back door, plus Hector somewhere, probably hanging back like the coward he was. A lull. Marcus heard sirens in the distance. Rebecca had made the call. 3 minutes out, maybe 4. He just had to hold. The backdoor attacker rushed in, firing wildly. Amateur move. Marcus rolled left, came up firing. 2 shots, both hits. The man crashed into a rack of pots, bringing the whole thing down in a cacophony of metal. More sirens, closer now. The remaining shooters were getting nervous. He could hear it in their movements, their harsh whispers. "Boss, we gotta go." Not without her. Marcus heard footsteps on the stairs. No, Maria was coming back down. Brave, stupid girl. "I'm here," she shouted. "Let them go, and I'll come with you." "Maria, no!" Marcus yelled, but she was already in the doorway, hands raised. Hector appeared then, using his own niece as a shield. He was exactly what Marcus expected, soft where his muscle was hard, wearing expensive clothes that couldn't hide the predator underneath. "There's my favorite niece," Hector smiled. "You've caused so much trouble. Sirens scream now, maybe a block away." Hector's eyes darted to the windows, calculating. "We're leaving," he announced. "All of us. The Marine drops his weapon, or I paint the walls with family blood." He pressed a pistol to Maria's temple. She didn't flinch, just stared at Marcus with those old soul eyes. "It's okay," she said quietly. "I won't let anyone else get hurt for me." Marcus stood slowly, gun still raised. In Afghanistan, he'd faced moments like this, impossible choices, no good options. But he learned something in those moments. Sometimes the only way out was through. "You know what your problem is, Hector?" Marcus said conversationally, as if they were discussing weather. "You think everyone's as afraid of dying as you are." "Drop the gun." "Maria, you remember what I said on the phone? About not leaving people behind?" She nodded slightly. "Close your eyes." She did. Marcus fired. The bullet passed so close to Maria's ear, she'd hear ringing for days. But it found its mark, Hector's gun hand. The weapon flew from nerveless fingers as he screamed, releasing Maria to clutch his shattered hand. Maria dropped flat, combat trained without knowing it. Marcus moved forward, kicking Hector's gun away, keeping his weapon trained on the wounded man. "You shot me!" Hector writhed on the floor. "You could have killed her." "Could have," Marcus agreed. "But didn't. See, that's the difference between us. You spray bullets and hope. I aim and know." Police burst through both entrances, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Marcus set his pistol on the counter and raised his hands, meeting Detective Coleman's shocked eyes as she surveyed the scene. "Basement's clear." Rebecca's voice. She'd ignored his orders and helped clear the building. His daughter, the warrior. Catherine would have been proud and terrified in equal measure. Ashley appeared behind the officers, running to Maria, wrapping her in a fierce hug. The 2 young women clung to each other, tears streaming. And in that moment, watching them, Marcus felt the last 3 years of grief and guilt ease just a fraction. He hadn't been able to save Catherine from the drunk driver who'd stolen her from them, but today, he'd saved someone. Multiple someone. It wasn't redemption. Nothing could be. But it was a start. The aftermath stretched through the morning. Statements, evidence collection, federal agents arriving to take over what had become a multi-state trafficking investigation. Hector, patched up by EMTs, gave up his network like the coward he was, trading information for leniency. Turns out his partner was a Denver businessman named William Cross, owner of several restaurants and clubs, perfect fronts for moving vulnerable women. The investigation would take months, but the foundation was crumbling. Marcus found himself on Rose's back porch, watching the sun climb over the Wyoming plains. His hands shook slightly, adrenaline aftermath. He'd been steady when it mattered, but the body kept score. Rebecca sat beside him, leaning against his shoulder. "Mom would have been proud of you today. Your mom would have found a way to solve this without anyone getting shot. Maybe. Or maybe she would have done exactly what you did, whatever it took to protect family." They sat quietly, drawing comfort from proximity. Inside, Marcus could hear Ashley and Maria talking with federal agents. Their voices stronger now. Empowered, Rosa was making breakfast for everyone, channeling her fear into hospitality. Coleman appeared in the doorway. "Thought you should know we picked up the leak in our department. Officer in the trafficking unit, deep in debt to the wrong people. He's talking too." Marcus nodded. "What happens to Maria now?" "Witness protection, at least temporarily. But with Hector and Cross giving up the network, she might not need it long. She's talking about finishing high school, maybe college. Ashley's already pulling strings to get her into the university." "Of course she island." Coleman sat on the porch rail, studying him. "You know, we could use someone like you. Consultant, maybe. Helping with security assessments, protection details. I'm just a construction foreman who took down a trafficking cell with tactical precision. Think about it." She left him to his thoughts. Marcus watched an eagle circle high above, riding thermals with effortless grace. For 3 years, he'd been grounded, weighted down by loss. Today, for the first time, he felt the possibility of flight again. "Dad?" Rebecca's voice pulled him back. "Ashley wants to know if we can stay another day. Maria's aunt invited us for dinner, and I think they both need, I don't know, time to process?" Marcus smiled. "We can stay as long as needed, but you're calling the university to explain your absence, and you're catching up on all missed work." "Deal." She kissed his cheek and went back inside. Marcus remained on the porch, feeling the sun on his face. His phone buzzed a text from an unknown number. He almost deleted it, then saw the message. "Thank you for not leaving me behind. Semper Fi." I looked it up. "Maria," he typed back. "Semper Fi, Marine. Welcome to the family." Because that's what they were now. A strange, extended, battle-forged family. Connected not by blood but by choice. By shared trauma transformed into shared strength. 6 months later, Marcus stood in a very different parking garage. This one was clean, well-lit, secured with cameras and panic buttons. He'd designed the security system himself, part of his new role as a consultant for the Riverside Safe Harbor Initiative, a program Ashley had spearheaded to protect vulnerable youth. "Looking good, Mr. Hayes," Ashley called out, pulling into a marked spot. She wore business attire now, having graduated early and taken a position as program coordinator, Maria texted. "She'll be here in 10. Maria Delgado had surprised everyone by thriving in witness protection. With Hector in prison and the trafficking network dismantled, she'd been able to return to a normal life. She'd finished high school through an accelerated program and was now starting at the University of Wyoming nursing program, full scholarship, a future bright as the Colorado Sunday. "How's she doing?" Marcus asked. "Better. She still has nightmares sometimes, but her therapist says that's normal. She's joining the campus veteran support group, says she feels more comfortable there than with traditional student groups." Marcus understood. Combat came in many forms, left similar scars. Rebecca emerged from the building, now serving as a volunteer coordinator. She'd changed her major to social work after everything that happened, finding purpose and protection. "Dad, the contractors are here for the safe room installation. They need your input on the placement." On my way, as he walked back inside, Marcus passed the wall of photos, success stories, young people who'd found safety and support through the program. Maria's picture was there, smiling at her high school graduation. Below it, a small plaque, in honor of those who stand up, step in, and never leave anyone behind. The Hector Delgado case had exposed corruption threads reaching into multiple states. Dozens of traffickers arrested, hundreds of victims freed, systems rebuilt with safeguards Marcus had helped design. It wasn't the war he'd trained for, but it was the one that found him. That evening, they gathered at Marcus's house for their weekly dinner. What had started as a one-time thing had become tradition. Ashley and Rebecca cooked while Maria regaled them with stories from campus. The table that had been too quiet after Catherine's death now overflowed with laughter. "I have news," Maria announced over dessert. "I've been accepted into the Marine Corps Officer Candidate Program. After I finish my nursing degree, I want to serve as a Navy corpsman with Marine units." The table went silent. Marcus set down his coffee carefully. "That's a big decision," Ashley said carefully. "I know, but Mr. Hayes Marcus showed me something that day in Wyoming. Sometimes the world needs people willing to stand between danger and the innocent. I want to be one of those people." Marcus's throat tightened. "It's a hard life, Maria. dangerous, demanding. So was surviving Hector. So was testifying against the network. At least this time, I'll be trained and ready. Rebecca reached over, squeezing Maria's hand. Mom would have said, follow your heart. What do you say? Maria looked directly at Marcus. He thought of Catherine, of the conversations they'd had about purpose and protection. She'd always said the greatest honor was lifting others up, giving them strength to stand on their own. I say semper fi, Marine. The Corps is lucky to have you. Maria's smile could have lit the room. Later, as the evening wound down, Marcus found himself on the back porch with Ashley. Inside, Rebecca and Maria were doing dishes, their laughter drifting through the windows. You saved her, Ashley said quietly. Not just from Hector, you saved her spirit. We all saved each other. You started this by caring about a scared girl. Rebecca gave us the strength to act. Maria gave us purpose. We're all different because of that night. Ashley leaned against the railing, looking at the stars. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if those men hadn't tried to grab me, if we'd never learned about Maria, about the network. Someone else would have suffered. Maria might have been caught. The network would have kept growing. Marcus joined her at the railing. Evil thrives on good people doing nothing. You did something. We did something, she corrected. I couldn't have done it alone. None of us could. That's the point of family. We're stronger together. A comfortable silence fell. Inside, music started playing. Rebecca had found Catherine's old playlist, the one she'd made for family gatherings. Songs about home, about hope, about starting over. Marcus? Ashley's voice was thoughtful. Do you think Catherine would approve of all this? The program? The risks we took? He smiled, remembering his wife's fierce protectiveness, her gentle strength. Catherine once told me that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in spite of it. She'd be proud of all of us for acting, for choosing courage over comfort. I wish I'd known her better. You carry her spirit forward every time you help someone. That's the best way to know her. The back door opened. Maria stuck her head out. We're making popcorn for movie night. You two coming? Be right there, Marcus said. As Maria disappeared back inside, Ashley turned to him. Thank you. For everything. For showing us that family isn't just about blood, it's about who shows up. Thank you, Marcus replied. For showing me that life after loss isn't about moving on, it's about moving forward, together. They headed inside to join their found family. The house that had once echoed with grief now hummed with life. Catherine's photo smiled down from the mantel, watching over them all, the Marine who'd lost his way and found it again, the best friend who'd become a daughter, the young woman who'd traded fear for purpose, and the survivor who'd become a warrior. Outside, the world continued its dangerous spin, but inside this house, in this moment, they were safe. They were home. They were family, and they were ready for whatever battles tomorrow might bring, knowing they'd face them together. Because sometimes that's how heroes are made, not in grand gestures or final stands, but in the simple act of refusing to let each other fight alone. The text came at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, 2 years after the Wyoming incident. Marcus read it twice, his blood chilling. They took my sister. Please help. M. Maria was stationed at Camp Pendleton now, finishing her corpsman training. Her younger sister, Sophia, 15, living with their Aunt Rosa in Laramie, was supposed to be safe. The network was dismantled. Hector in federal prison. Marcus called Maria immediately. Her voice was steady, but he heard the fear underneath the same control he'd used in combat when everything was falling apart. She went to a school dance, Maria explained. Never came home. Local police say she ran away, but Rosa found her phone in the parking lot. Screen cracked, like it was thrown. I'm on my way to the airport, Marcus said, already pulling on clothes. Who else knows? Just Rosa and me. I can't leave base without authorization, and if I go AWOL, you stay put. Follow orders. I'll handle this. Marcus, Marine to Marine, Maria, you hold your position. I'll bring her home. 20 minutes later, he was in Ashley's apartment, explaining the situation. She was already packing, no questions asked. Rebecca arrived shortly after, having driven through the night from Denver, where she was finishing her master's degree. We should call Detective Coleman, Rebecca suggested. Marcus shook his head. If this is connected to the old network, we can't trust normal channels. Someone grabbed a 15-year-old girl who happens to be Maria Delgado's sister. That's not coincidence. Ashley pulled up her laptop. I've kept tabs on everyone connected to the original case. Cross died in prison 6 months ago, shanked by another inmate. But his son, William Jr., got out on parole last month. Revenge play? Maybe. Or maybe he's trying to restart Daddy's business and figures Maria's family owes him. Marcus felt the familiar cold focus descend. In Afghanistan, they'd called it mission mode when everything except the objective faded away. Rebecca, call Rosa. Tell her we're coming. Ashley, reach out to your contacts in Wyoming. See if anyone's heard about new trafficking activity. I need to make a stop. The stop was a storage unit on the outskirts of town. Inside, locked in a climate-controlled container, was his old gear tactical vest, night vision, the tools of a different life. He'd hoped never to need them again, but hope was a luxury when family was in danger. They made Laramie in 5 hours, Marcus pushing the speed limit the entire way. Rosa's kitchen looked different in daylight, peaceful, no sign of the violence from 2 years ago. But Rosa herself was aged by fear, her hands shaking as she served them coffee. Sophia's a good girl, she kept repeating. Never trouble, always home on time. Why would someone take her? Marcus showed her the photo of William Cross Jr. that Ashley had found. Rosa's face went white. He was here, last week, came in for lunch, asked about Maria. I told him she was in the Marines now. He smiled and said, "Family business is family business." The pieces clicked. Junior wasn't just seeking revenge, he was sending a message. You took my family's empire, I take your family. Security footage? Ashley asked. The camera's been broken for months, Rosa admitted. Marcus's phone buzzed. Unknown number, Wyoming area code. He answered on speaker. Mr. Hayes. The voice was young, cocky, trying too hard to sound dangerous. I heard you were back in town. Junior, where's the girl? Safe. For now. Amazing how much she looks like her sister. Same fighter's eyes. Wonder if she'll break the same way. Marcus's hand tightened on the phone, but his voice remained level. What do you want? Justice. My father died because of what your little group did. Hector's locked up, the whole network destroyed. Years of work, gone. Your father trafficked human beings. He got what he deserved. He was a businessman, supply and demand. Now I'm going to rebuild, and little Sophia here is going to help me recruit. Young girls trust other young girls, you know? Ashley grabbed Marcus's arm, her face horrified. He shook his head slightly, keep him talking. Or, Junior continued, Maria can trade herself, the hero corpsman for her baby sister. Fair deal, right? Maria's on a military base. She can't just leave. She's got 48 hours to figure it out. After that, Sophia starts earning her keep. The line went dead. Rebecca immediately started working her phone, calling contacts from the program. Ashley dove into digital reconnaissance, mapping Junior's known associates. But Marcus stood still, mind racing through tactical options. We can't let Maria know, he decided. She'll go AWOL, throw away her career. We can't not tell her, Rebecca argued. It's her sister, which is why she can't think clearly about this. We find Sophia ourselves. Ashley looked up from her laptop. I might have something. Credit card tied to one of Junior's aliases was used at a motel off I-80. The Wagon Wheel, about 30 miles west. Too easy, Marcus said. Junior's not stupid. It's either a trap or misdirection. Only one way to find out, Rebecca said. Marcus looked at his daughter, seeing Catherine's determination in her eyes. 2 years ago, he'd tried to protect her from this world. Now she was choosing to wade into it. This isn't like last time, he warned. Junior's expecting us. He'll be ready. Then we be readier, Ashley said simply. The Wagon Wheel Motel squatted beside the interstate, like a diseased toad, 12 units, half with boarded windows, a neon sign missing most of its letters. Marcus parked across the road at a truck stop, using binoculars to survey the scene. 2 vehicles, he reported. Black Suburban, plate stolen, old pickup, matched to one of Junior's known associates. At least 3 men visible. Sophia? Rebecca asked. No sign. They could have her in one of the rooms or she's not here, Ashley finished. But something nagged at Marcus. The setup was too obvious, but also too specific. Junior wanted them here. Why? His answer came via text. Room 7. Come alone, or she dies. It's a trap, Rebecca said immediately. Obviously. But he has her somewhere. This is negotiation, not rescue. Yet. Marcus checked his weapon, the same 1,911 that had saved them in Wyoming. Ashley, you're our eyes. Watch from here. Call if anyone else arrives. Rebecca, circle around back, but do not engage. You're intel only. Dad, please. The word carried weight. Rebecca nodded. Marcus crossed the road, hyper-aware of every shadow, every potential firing position. The motel's courtyard reeked of desperation and meth. Door to room 7 was slightly ajar. He pushed it open with his foot, staying back from the fatal funnel of the doorway. Inside, a single man sat on the bed, not Junior, but a thick-necked bruiser with prison tattoos. Mr. Marine, the man smiled, revealing gold teeth. Junior says you're predictable. Always the hero, yeah? Where's the girl? Not here. This is just conversation. Junior wants to make a deal. I'm listening. The sister for the sister, like he said. But also, you stop interfering. Close down that program. Stop protecting the girls. Business needs to flow, you understand? No deal, the man shrugged. Then little Sophia learns the trade hard way. Junior's already got buyers interested. Young, innocent, related to the infamous Maria Delgado. She'll fetch premium prices. Marcus's vision tunneled, but he forced calm. In combat, anger got you killed. Counter, offer, he said. Junior releases Sophia unharmed, and I don't spend the rest of my life hunting him down. He can run his business elsewhere, but he stays away from my family. Your family? The man laughed. Some washed, up Marine and a bunch of broken girls? That's not family, Is. That's just... Marcus moved. Not the measured approach of law enforcement, but the explosive violence of a warrior pushed too far. The man reached for his weapon, but Marcus was already there, deflecting the draw, driving an elbow into his throat. They crashed to the floor. The man was strong but untrained, relying on size over skill. Marcus worked him like a problem, to be solved joint locks, pressure points, controlled violence. Within seconds, the man was unconscious, zip-tied with his own supplies. Marcus searched him quickly. Burner phone, keys to the Suburban, and there. A receipt from a veterinary supply store, dated today. Ketamine and needles, sedatives for transporting victims. The phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Nice work, but Luis was expendable. Sophia isn't. Stop playing hero, or she pays. Marcus photographed the receipt and sent it to Ashley. Her response was immediate. Only one vet supply in 50 miles. Cross. Referencing with property records now. He left Luis unconscious and restrained, making his way back to the truck. Rebecca met him halfway, eyes wide. 2 more vehicles just pulled up. We need to go. They made it to the truck as doors slammed behind them. Marcus pulled out smooth and steady, not rushing, not drawing attention. Just another vehicle on the interstate. Got it? Ashley announced. The vet supply store is owned by a shell company tied to Cross's old network. But here's the interesting part. There's a ranch property about 15 miles north, purchased by the same shell company 6 months ago. Isolated, limited access. That's where she is, Marcus said with certainty. Junior's recreating his father's operation. Isolated property for holding victims, vet supplies for sedation, infrastructure for transport. So we call in federal backup, Rebecca suggested. With what evidence? A receipt and property records? By the time we convince anyone, Sophia could be moved or worse. Ashley was already pulling up satellite images. The ranch has one access road, but there's a tree line on the eastern edge. Approach on foot would be concealed until the last 100 yards. Marcus glanced at his daughter, his partner in justice, these women who'd become his unit. This isn't a parking garage confrontation. This is a prepared position with unknown defenders. I can't ask. You're not asking, Ashley interrupted. We're volunteering. Dad, we've spent 2 years building a program to protect the vulnerable. Sophia is vulnerable. We protect our own. Marcus felt pride and terror war in his chest. Catherine, what would you do? But he knew. Catherine would protect the innocent, whatever the cost. Okay, he said finally, but we do this smart. Recon first, then we plan. The ranch sprawled across Wyoming grassland like a cancer main house, 2 outbuildings, a barn that had seen better days. Marcus lay prone at the tree line, binoculars tracking movement. 2 years of civilian life hadn't dulled his reconnaissance skills. 4 defenders visible, he whispered into the phone. 2 on roving patrol, 1 at the main house, 1 near the barn. That's where they're holding her. Too much activity for a building that should be empty. Ashley's voice came through his earpiece. Rebecca and I are in position on the south side. No movement here. The smart play was to wait for darkness. Use concealment. Minimize risk. But every hour increased the chance of Sophia being moved or harmed. Marcus made the call. Ashley, can you create a distraction? Something to draw them away from the barn? Give me 5 minutes. Marcus used the time to move closer, using terrain and sparse cover. At 50 yards out, he could see the barn's side door padlocked from outside. Confirmation. A car alarm shrieked from the main road. Ashley's distraction. 2 guards immediately jogged toward the sound, weapons visible but not raised. Complacent, sloppy, Marcus moved. The remaining barn guard never saw him coming. A chokehold, properly applied, dropped him unconscious in seconds. Marcus zip-tied him and took his keys, trying each until the padlock clicked open. Inside, the barn was set up for horror cages along one wall, chains, the infrastructure of human trafficking. But only one cage was occupied. Sofia Delgado, 15 years old, huddled in the corner. She looked up as Marcus entered, eyes wide with fear that shifted to desperate hope. "You're Maria's friend," she whispered. "The Marine. That's right, we're getting you out." Marcus worked the cage lock, hands steady despite the urgency. "Can you run?" She nodded, standing on shaky legs. "They drugged me, but it's wearing off." The cage door swung open. Marcus helped her out, noting the bruising on her arms, the way she favored her left ankle. Anger burned cold in his chest. "Marcus, we have a problem," Ashley's voice crackled. "Junior just arrived. 3 vehicles, at least 8 more men." The arithmetic of combat turned against them. 13 hostiles, minimum, prepared position, limited exits. In Afghanistan, he'd have called for air support. Here, he had 2 brave but untrained women and a traumatized teenager. "Fall back to the truck," he ordered. "We're coming out hot." But as they reached the barn door, gunfire erupted, not at them from the main house. Shouting, chaos, weapons, discharge. Rebecca's voice breathless. "It's Maria. She's here with backup." Through the barn door, Marcus saw his impossible cavalry, Maria Delgado in full combat gear, flanked by 6 Marines in tactical formation. They moved through the compound like wraiths, systematic and overwhelming. "Thought I ordered you to stay put," Marcus called out as Maria approached. "You did." She grinned fiercely. "But my commanding officer understood family. Officially, we're on a training exercise. Unofficially, nobody threatens my sister." Sophia broke free from Marcus, running to her sister despite the ankle. The reunion was brief but fierce, Maria holding her sister while maintaining tactical awareness. "Junior?" Marcus asked. "In custody. Turns out he was already wanted for parole violation. The firearms his men were carrying just added federal charges." The compound secured, statements given, evidence collected. By evening, they were back at Rose's kitchen. The extended family gathered around tables pushed together. Sophia sat between her sister and aunt, slowly eating soup, slowly coming back to herself. "I'm sorry," she kept saying. "I should have been more careful." "No," Maria said firmly. "They targeted you because of me. This is on them, not you." Marcus watched the Delgado women, 3 generations of survivors, each protecting the next. He thought of his own daughter, Ashley, the network of protection they'd built from shared trauma. "You know they'll keep coming," Ashley said quietly, joining him at a corner table. Junior was just one player. "The demand hasn't gone away. Then neither do we." Marcus looked around the room, Marines and civilians, family by blood and choice. "We keep building the program, keep training people, keep standing between predators and prey." Rebecca appeared with coffee and updates. "Coleman says the FBI wants to debrief everyone tomorrow. Also, there's a reporter asking about the vigilante Marine who keeps disrupting trafficking operations." "Tell them the truth," Marcus said. "A father protects his family. A Marine protects the innocent. Sometimes they're the same thing." Maria approached, having settled Sophia with Rosa. "Marcus, I owe you. You owe me nothing. Family doesn't keep score." She smiled, then grew serious. "My CO was impressed by the intelligence you gathered, the tactical planning. Says if you ever want to come back, the Corps could use instructors with real-world experience." "Thanks, but I have a mission here." "I know." She looked around the room. building an army of protectors, one rescue at a time. That night, Marcus stood outside, looking at the stars. The same stars he'd watched in Afghanistan, in Riverside, in all the dark places where evil thrived. But now, he wasn't watching alone. Ashley emerged, followed by Rebecca and Maria. They stood together in comfortable silence, 4 warriors in their own right. "Think it's ever going to end?" Ashley asked. "The trafficking, the predators, all of it?" "Maybe not in our lifetime," Marcus admitted. "But every person we save, every network we disrupt, every young woman who learns to protect herself and others, that's a victory. We don't have to win the whole war, just our battles." "Semper Fi," Maria said softly. "Semper Fi," Marcus echoed. And there, under Wyoming stars, surrounded by chosen family, Marcus Hayes finally understood what he'd been fighting for all along. Not just safety or justice, but the moment when the rescued become the rescuers. When protection multiplies through teaching and example. The war wasn't over. It might never be. But they'd face it together, one saved life at a time. Because sometimes that's what heroes do. They stand in the gap, they absorb the impact, and they make sure nobody else has to fight alone. And in a world full of predators, that made all the difference. The text that changed everything came 3 years later, on a quiet Thursday morning. Marcus was reviewing security protocols for the program's new satellite location when his phone buzzed. "Dad's out. He found me. Please help. Becca." Not your Rebecca. Marcus's blood chilled. Becca Morrison, one of their program's first success stories. 18 now, freshman at Colorado State, full scholarship. She'd escaped her trafficking father at 15, testified against him, built a new life. And now he was hunting her. Within an hour, the war room was active. The kitchen table in Marcus's house, once scene of family dinners, now held laptops, phones, and maps. Ashley coordinated with campus security. Rebecca, his Rebecca, worked her law enforcement contacts. Maria, on leave between deployments, ran tactical planning. Robert Morrison, Ashley reported, released 6 days ago on a technicality evidence chain issues. First thing he did was violate the restraining order by showing up at his ex-wife's house. "Becca's mom?" Marcus asked. "Dead. Overdosed 2 years ago. Becca has no blood family left except him." Maria pulled up Morrison's file. "This isn't like Junior or Hector. Morrison's smart MBA ran his trafficking through legitimate massage parlors and modeling agencies. He's got money hidden, resources." Marcus studied the photo. Clean-shaven, professional. The kind of man who could walk into any business meeting without raising suspicion. The worst predators often look the most normal. "Where's Becca now?" he asked. "Campus security has her in a safe room," Rebecca reported. "But here's the problem. Morrison's got a legal team filing for visitation rights. Claims he's reformed, wants to reconcile with his daughter." "Over my dead body," Marcus growled. His phone rang. Becca's number. "Marcus." Her voice was small, terrified. "He's here. Outside the building. Security won't do anything because he's not technically breaking any laws." "Stay put, we're coming," he said. He said if I don't come talk to him, he'll start recruiting my friends. My roommate. He knows their names, their schedules, the calculated cruelty of it, using her protective instincts against her. Marcus had seen this before. Predators who understood that good people would sacrifice themselves to protect others. "Becca, listen to me. You don't negotiate with terrorists, even when they share your DNA. Stay in that room. We're 20 minutes out." But the line had already gone dead. They made it to campus in 15 minutes, Marcus pushing every limit. Campus security met them at the building, looking frustrated. "She walked out 5 minutes ago," the officer reported. "Said she needed to talk to him, that it was the only way to keep others safe. We couldn't legally stop her." "Which way?" Maria demanded, already scanning the area. "North parking lot." He had a rental car, silver Lexus. Marcus was already moving. The north lot was half full, students coming and going. No sign of a silver Lexus, but there. Security camera on the light pole. "Ashley, can you?" Already on it. She had her tablet out, fingers flying. Campus security gave her access without question. The program's reputation opened doors. "Got him." Left 7 minutes ago, turned east on College Avenue. They piled back into vehicles, a convoy of protectors racing against time. Marcus drove while Maria worked the phone, coordinating with contacts, trying to track the Lexus. "He's not running," Rebecca observed. "He's got a plan," Marcus nodded grimly. Morrison had spent 3 years in prison planning this moment. He wouldn't waste it on impulse. Ashley's tablet chimed. "Got a hit. Lexus just pinged a license plate reader heading up Highway 14. That leads to the mountains," Marcus finished. "Isolated, limited cell service, plenty of places to disappear." They pushed harder, racing against geography and time. The suburban landscape gave way to foothills, then true mountain territory. Pine forests pressed close to the winding road. "There," Maria spotted it first. The silver Lexus, parked at a scenic overlook. Empty. Marcus was out before the truck fully stopped, scanning for threats. No movement, no sound, except wind through pines. But on the ground beside the Lexus, Becca's phone, screen cracked. "Trail," Maria pointed. A narrow hiking path led into the forest. Fresh footprints in the dirt man's dress shoes, woman's sneakers. They moved fast but careful, Marcus on point, military instinct screaming. This felt like an ambush. Morrison was too smart to just park and walk into the woods. A quarter-mile in, they found the first sign, Becca's Colorado State hoodie, hanging from a branch like a flag. "He's leaving breadcrumbs," Ashley said. "He wants us to follow." "Then we follow," Marcus decided. "But smart. Maria, you and Ashley parallel us 50 yards right. Rebecca, call for backup but stay with the vehicles. Dad, someone needs to coordinate if this goes bad. That's you." They spread out, moving through the forest like they'd trained. The trail wound upward, toward a ridge that overlooked a valley. Perfect defensive position, perfect trap. Marcus heard her before he saw Rebecca's voice, high and scared. "Please, Dad, you're hurting me." He crested a small rise and saw them. Morrison stood at the cliff edge, one arm around Becca's throat, the other holding a pistol, not pointed at her, pointed at himself, under his chin. "Mr. Hayes." Morrison smiled. "The famous Marine protector, right on schedule." "Let her go, Morrison." "Oh, I intend to. One way or another, this ends today." He tightened his grip, making Becca whimper. "You see, prison gave me time to think. About loss, about what was taken from me. My business, my reputation, my family." "You traffic children," Marcus said, moving slowly closer. "You don't get to play victim. I provided a service, supply and demand. But you turned my own daughter against me, made her betray blood for strangers." "I made a choice," Becca gasped out, "to be better than you." Morrison's face twisted. "Better? You're just like your mother. Weak, ungrateful. But I'm gonna fix that. Gonna show you what real loss feels like." Marcus saw it then, the madness beneath the calculated exterior. Morrison wasn't here for reconciliation or even revenge. He was here for mutual destruction. "You pull that trigger, you die alone," Marcus said. "But if you let her go, you get to live, maybe find redemption." Morrison laughed. "Redemption? From who? The daughter who betrayed me? The system that caged me? No, Mr. Hayes. The only redemption is making sure she lives with the same loss I do, the loss of a parent by their own hand." He pressed the gun harder against his chin. Becca sobbed, although, Morrison continued, "There's another option. She comes with me, willingly. We disappear, start over, father and daughter, the way it should be." "That's not happening." Maria's voice came from Morrison's left. She'd circled around, approaching from his blind spot. Morrison spun, dragging Becca with him. "Stay back, all of you!" But the movement gave Marcus the opening he needed. In the split second Morrison was distracted, Marcus charged. Not at Morrison that would risk Becca. Instead, he dove low, tackling both of them away from the cliff edge. They went down in a tangle of limbs, the gun spinning away into the undergrowth. Morrison fought with desperate strength, but he was a businessman playing at violence. Marcus was violence refined by purpose. He separated Morrison from Becca, putting himself between them. "Go," he told her. "Maria's got you." Morrison scrambled for the gun, but Ashley appeared from the forest, kicking it further away. He looked around wildly, surrounded, defeated, his grand plan in ruins. "You don't understand," he screamed. "She's mine, my blood, my property. I'm nobody's property." Becca stood with Maria's support, shaking but defiant. "I'm a survivor, a protector, Everything you never were. Morrison lunged one last time, not for a weapon, but for the cliff. Marcus caught him 5 feet from the edge, dragging him down, pinning him until law enforcement arrived. As they led Morrison away, he looked back once, not at Marcus or the others, but at Becca. "You'll always be broken because of me," he said. "That's my real legacy." Becca met his gaze steadily. "Maybe, but I choose what to build from the pieces." The aftermath was familiar now: statements, paperwork, the slow process of justice. But this time felt different. They gathered at Marcus's house that evening, the extended family of protectors. "I'm sorry," Becca said. "I put everyone at risk." "You protected your friends," Ashley corrected. "Even at cost to yourself. That's not weakness, that's strength." Maria nodded. "The hardest enemy to fight is the one who knows our hearts. You faced yours and won." Marcus watched Becca slowly relax, surrounded by people who understood. His mind drifted to all the others they'd helped, some who stayed in touch, some who disappeared into new lives, all carrying forward the mission of protection. "I want to do more," Becca announced suddenly. "Not just survive, but help others survive, like you all helped me." Rebecca smiled. "Well, we're opening the new satellite office next month. Could use someone who understands the survivor perspective." "You want me to work with the program? We want you to help lead it," Marcus said. "Your story, your strength, that's what gives others hope." Becca's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. "From victim to protector, that's the path," Maria confirmed. "The one we're all walking." Later, as the house emptied and quiet returned, Marcus stood on his porch, looking at the stars. Ashley joined him, as she often did these days. "Thinking about Catherine?" she asked. "Always. But also thinking about tomorrow. All the Beccas still out there, still trapped, still fighting alone. We can't save them all." "No," Marcus agreed. "But we can build an army of protectors. Every person we help becomes someone who can help others. Exponential growth." Ashley was quiet for a moment. "You know what I realized today? We're not just saving individuals anymore. We're changing the ecosystem, making it harder for predators to operate, easier for victims to find help." Marcus smiled. "Catherine would have liked that. Systemic change through individual action. She would have been proud of you, of all of us." They stood together, comfortable in shared purpose. Inside, Marcus could hear Rebecca on the phone, coordinating with other chapters. Maria was video calling her unit, sharing lessons learned. Becca was sketching out ideas for peer support groups. The war continued. It always would. But the army of protectors grew stronger every day, bound not by blood or duty, but by choice. The choice to stand between predator and prey. The choice to transform trauma into purpose. The choice to ensure no one faced the darkness alone. And in that choice, Marcus found what he'd been searching for since Catherine's death. Not closure or healing, but continuation. A way to honor the dead by protecting the living. "Same time next week?" Ashley asked, heading to her car. "Wouldn't miss it," Marcus confirmed. "Because that's what they did now. They showed up. They stood guard. They built the future one saved life at a time." And somewhere in the Colorado night, another trapped soul saw their first glimpse of hope, knowing that if they could just hold on, help was coming. The army of protectors was on the move. Semper Fi. The blizzard had come early that year, blanketing Colorado in pristine white silence. But in the Hayes house, warmth and laughter pushed back against the cold. It was Christmas Eve, 5 years after that first parking garage confrontation that had changed everything. The living room overflowed with people. Marcus stood by the fireplace, watching the controlled chaos with quiet satisfaction. Rebecca was in the kitchen with Ashley, putting final touches on dinner. Maria, now a decorated Navy lieutenant, entertained a group of program graduates with stories from her latest deployment. And there were so many graduates now. Young women who'd been pulled from trafficking, from abuse, from the margins, now social workers, police officers, nurses, teachers, each one carrying forward the mission of protection. "Mr. Hayes," a voice called. Becca Morrison approached, no longer the terrified girl from 3 years ago. She wore a business suit now, having just come from the program's main office where she served as survivor advocate. "Someone here wants to meet you." Behind her stood a young woman, maybe 19, with the too-thin look of someone recently rescued. Her eyes held that familiar mix of fear and fragile hope. "This is Carmen," Becca introduced. "We got her out of a truck stop trafficking ring last week. She's been asking about you, about the Marine who started all this." Marcus extended his hand. "Just a dad who didn't look away. The real heroes are people like Becca who turn their pain into purpose." Carmen shook his hand tentatively. "Becca said you taught her that survival is just the first step, that what matters is what comes next." "What comes next is up to you," Marcus said gently. "But you won't figure it out alone. Nobody does in this family." The front door opened, bringing a swirl of snow and 2 more arrivals. Detective Coleman, now Chief Coleman, carrying a covered dish, and beside her, a surprised William Cross Jr. The room tensed. Maria's hand moved instinctively to where her service weapon would be. But Jr., he didn't look like the same man from the Wyoming incident. Prison had aged him, humbled him. He stood in the doorway, uncertainly, a wrapped package in his hands. "I know I'm not welcome," he said quietly, "but I needed to. I wanted to." He took a breath. "I've been out 6 months, been working with the FBI, giving them everything about my father's network, and I've been going to meetings, trying to understand how I became what I was." Marcus stepped forward, not threatening, but not welcoming either. "Why are you here?" Junior held out the package. "This was in my father's safe. I think it belongs to your program." Ashley unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a ledger, names, dates, transactions, but also something else. Photos of girls who'd been trafficked, and next to each one, handwritten notes. Where they came from, who missed them. Details that humanized victims the Elder Cross had seen only as product. "My father's secretary kept this," Junior explained. "She couldn't save them, but she documented them. Thought someday someone might care enough to look for them." Coleman took the ledger, eyes already scanning entries. "This could help us identify dozens of cold cases, bring closure to families." "That's why I brought it," Junior said. "I can't undo what my family did, but maybe I can help undo some of the damage." He turned to leave, but Carmen spoke up. "Wait." Everyone looked at her. "Becca taught me something yesterday. She said the program isn't about punishment, it's about transformation, about choosing to be better than what tried to break us." She looked at Marcus. "If someone chooses to transform, don't they deserve the chance?" The room held its breath. Marcus thought of Catherine, of what she would say, about grace and justice, about the long path from darkness to light. "You want to help?" he asked Junior. "Then help. Coleman can use someone who knows how these networks think. But you work with survivors, you listen more than you talk, and you remember every day that redemption is earned, not given." Junior nodded, eyes bright with unexpected emotion. "Thank you. I won't waste the chance." As the evening progressed, Marcus found himself on the porch again, despite the cold. The snow had stopped, leaving the world crisp and clean. Rebecca joined him, bundled in her mother's old coat. "Quite a gathering," she said. "Mom would have loved this." "She would have loved you," Marcus corrected. "The woman you've become, the lives you've changed." "We've changed, Dad. All of us." They stood quietly, breath misting in the cold air. Through the windows, they could see their chosen family protectors, and protected, transformed, and transforming. "Remember that night at the coffee shop?" Rebecca asked. "When you saw Ashley being grabbed? Every detail. Did you know then what it would become? This whole movement?" Marcus shook his head. "I just knew I couldn't walk away. Same choice you made. Same choice we all made. And now?" He gestured to the warm lights spilling from their home. "Now we've built something that will outlast us all. Every person in there will train others, save others, protect others." The ripples keep spreading. The door opened again. Maria stepped out, followed by Ashley and Becca, then Coleman and even Junior. One by one, the house emptied onto the porch, drawn by something unspoken. They stood together in the snow, Marines and civilians, cops and survivors, even a former trafficker seeking redemption, all united by the simple belief that no one should face predators alone. 5 years, Ashley said softly. Hundreds saved, thousands protected through prevention, Coleman added. Dozens of chapters nationwide, Becca contributed. And we're just getting started, Maria finished. Marcus looked at each face, seeing the journey in their eyes. The parking garage confrontation that started it all seemed like a lifetime ago, but every choice since then had led to this moment, this family, this mission, this hope. Catherine always said the best way to honor loss is to prevent others from experiencing it, he said. I think we're doing that. We are, Rebecca confirmed, one life at a time. As if on cue, Marcus's phone buzzed. Another text, another call for help. He showed it to the group a trafficking situation in Denver. A girl trapped, desperate. Without hesitation, they began planning. Because this was who they were now. Not just survivors, but protectors. Not just individuals, but an army. The phone call started mobilizing resources, coordinating response. Even on Christmas Eve, the mission continued. Because predators didn't take holidays, and neither did protection. But before they scattered to their tasks, they shared one more moment. Standing in a circle on the snowy porch, hands joined, they spoke the words that had become their motto, "No one fights alone." And in that promise, carried on the winter wind, was the echo of every life saved, every predator stopped, every survivor who found their strength. It was Catherine's legacy, lived out through their choices. It was redemption earned through action. It was hope, spreading like ripples across still water, changing the world one rescue at a time. The war against predators would never truly end, but neither would the army of protectors, growing stronger with each passing day, bound by something more powerful than fear or pain, bound by love, by choice, by the simple truth that when good people stand together, evil cannot win. As they headed back inside to warmth and purpose, snow began falling again. But this time, it felt like a blessing covering the old tracks, making way for new paths. And somewhere in the night, another trapped soul felt the first stirring of hope, because the army was coming. The protectors were on watch, and no one, absolutely no one would fight alone. Not anymore, not ever again. Semper Fi. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that heroes aren't born but made through choices and compassion, hit that subscribe button. Tomorrow we're sharing another powerful story that will restore your faith in humanity. And remember, sometimes the most dangerous person isn't the one making threats, but the quiet one who refuses to let evil win. Until next time, stay safe and keep watching out for each other.